And from my perspective as a human being, I am a parent. You know, I'm a parent of 4 children, and I speak a lot of what I feel about education today is informed, is informed by that, and then of course my work. So just almost to set the context for myself in which I'll share my feelings. Sustainability to me is not just about, you know, what a lot of people naturally believe it to be, which is sort of climate and environmental issues. Sustainability to me is everything to do with the way that we live on this planet, how we treat each other, how we progress and how we grow, and how we enable everybody to be part of that experience, and that no one is left behind from that. So that's the context in which I will share my thoughts about learning. And overall, I think it has to change fundamentally. I feel that education has not caught up with the world in which we live, and it is falling further and further behind. And the most recent experience that COVID has thrown up for so many learners all over the world is shocking and upsetting. But on the other hand, I also hope that it sets the tone for enormous change as we go forward through the next few years and building back better. So what does learning need to look like from my point of view? Well, I think that we need to place a huge emphasis on socio and emotional learning and use that as the base upon which we then apply knowledge and understanding. So that is about building empathy from the start with young children, empathy to both people and planet and our environment, to establish curiosity as a fundamental element that kind of builds our learning journey, and to encourage students and learners of all ages to be open and collaborative rather than competitive against one another, to build a real sense that we're learning in order to develop solutions, and that we can be optimistic and hopeful that that is possible, rather than feeling negative about all the problems that the world places upon us or we see around us. And to also establish a way in which learners can be reflective, can think about what they're learning, and can be willing and active participants in that learning. I find it really difficult, even with my own children, to ask them to think about the learning that they are going through, to reflect upon it. I understand that they're very young, but I'm sure there are ways that we can help them think and then become more active in their own learning. I think that we need children and learners of all ages, of course, to understand that the world is incredibly complicated and that there aren't simple solutions, that they need to become more comfortable with that complexity, and to use it almost. The world is so interconnected today. Every aspect of our own lives is connected with others. Every aspect of development, issues of hunger, poverty, sustainable cities, etc., are all interconnected, and we need to understand that, and we need to use that as part of creating our solutions. Doesn't mean learning has to be complicated. I think our job as educators is to help simplify that, but to bring students on as they develop through the stages of becoming more comfortable with that complexity. But as I said earlier, I feel like this optimism is crucial. I'd love learners to feel that solutions are possible, that they can take part in making and creating those solutions. And so there's something about agency here that I'd love to see. I'd love to see students being more active and participate in creating solutions, and just help them find those experiences. I think the final thing is something about trust, something about making sure that there is a sense of trust between a learner and an educator, and across through learners, so that they work together rather than competitively. We have too much of an exam focused system, and we need to move away from that, and we need to encourage students to work together more. Just a little bit on where I see my role in that. I think my role is in enabling as many students as possible to have that experience, to give them even one possible moment in which they can develop their own curiosity, they can solve a problem, and they can use the world around them to do that. We saw some interesting stats from Andrea Schleicher yesterday, some data that showed from young people that the number of learning experiences that they have in this area can really help influence their attitude toward their own agency and their ability to solve problems. So my role, as I see it with the world's largest lesson, is to give those opportunities, as many opportunities as possible for as many students as possible to experience what it's like to understand a problem, to apply their knowledge and their values to that problem, and to develop a solution. In my world, the front line is the teacher working in a situation on the ground where they don't have huge support. They're working in a difficult setting. So the solution to me in that regard has to be giving them the tools and the skills and the training to be able to then bring all of these different aspects into play in the classroom. My focus is of course, as Koens is, on younger students. So there's something about new ways of training teachers, and there are programs being tested and developed to help teachers access new ideas and teaching via social media tools like WhatsApp, and using connectivity in that very contemporary, very fast way to inspire. I think one of the solutions on the ground is Koens Project. I think the Climate Action Project is a great way of helping the front line to bring something new into the classroom that marries both understanding what's going on and then collaborating on solutions. And there are others of those, Kieran Sethi's, for example. And then also, I think, there are countries that are getting it right. It isn't just Italy. I think, Finland have an incredible system of educating around climate and the environment from the very youngest ages, and helping children to feel really natural empathy with their environment, and to consider that climate change and environmental protection is a matter of kind of what they call it human growth. It's about changing the way we feel and think about what's going on in the world, and treating it as growth and development of ourselves as human beings, to become more at one with our planet, rather than, as we have been in the past, moving to a situation where we dominate and control it. And the pandemic is a terrible reflection of that. So I think those are a few things that are going on that I would look to see if we can scale and replicate in other parts of the world and make this change start to happen.